Welcome to the Get Zoned In podcast, the official podcast of Zone Sports Academy. I'm your host, Duke Baxter. Each week, we will help educate and motivate you so that you can dominate the game of life on and off the field. We will introduce you to players, coaches, and professionals covering all aspects of the great game of baseball and softball. So if you're ready to get zoned in, let's go. My guest today is Chris Roof from Livingston High School, a good friend of mine. He's been coaching high school baseball for 20 years. He went to Montclair State. He was the NJAC Rookie of the Year. He won a national championship. He's 8 wins away from 400. Let's get zoned in. Hey everybody, here we are at the Get Zoned In podcast. I'm Duke Baxter, and I'm super excited because I have Chris Roof from Livingston. We're good friends. We both love the game of baseball, and we're gonna have a good time. Make sure you guys tune in. So, Coach Roof, I always call him Coach Roof. So, when was the first time that you fell in love with the game of baseball? Do you remember that day that you first grabbed the leather baseball? And
first of all, I want to thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. This is a special place to me and to our kids. We've been coming here for 17 years, and our kids, we are the program we are because of you and all your trainers. So thanks you first and foremost.
That's awesome.
I'd probably say the same thing as you, 6, 7 years old. I was actually thinking my son is in 3rd grade right now, and that was probably the first summer that I played travel baseball. So, I remember I always tell the kids, I bust their chops saying, that you don't play wiffle ball. They don't even know what wiffle ball is.
Right.
They don't play. We would play with aluminum bats, but with tennis balls. Mm-hmm. And
so it wouldn't mess up your swing, right? That's
exactly. But the other thing, like you, we learned how to hit curveballs by playing wiffle ball.
Right.
These kids now have no idea what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unfortunate.
So tell us a little bit about your family. I know you just said you have a son. What's your
my son? Like I said, we're 3rd grade. He's 8 years old. I have a daughter who's 11, who's in 6th grade, named Emily. And me and my wife Lori are running all over the place like most parents. They're playing all these different kinds of sports, which is a lot of fun.
Right.
I try to be around my GL guys in the summer as much as I can, but I am torn now to going to watch my son play for Scotch Plains and my daughter to play softball in the summer. Grew up in Berkeley Heights, went to GL, so it means a lot to me to be not only a teacher but a coach at GL.
So 17 years, right? You've been 17 years. You've
at
been
GL
coaching
this spring.
At GL. Yeah, it's going to be 20.
20 overall, 3 at Milburn before. It goes by fast, man. Like I said, it goes by fast like in anything in life.
So let's get back to so you went to high school. You then went to college. Not only did you go to college, you were in the NJAC. You were the NJAC Rookie of the Year. You then also won a national championship at Montclair State, and then you went back again to the championship. Yeah. Right? So not many people get a chance to get to the big game.
We were very, very lucky. I had an opportunity, probably like yourself. You already played away in Florida. I had an opportunity to play at a higher level away. I was a homebody. I wanted to stay close to home. Rutgers was really the place I wanted to go play for Coach Hill, and things didn't work out in terms of academics, so kids listen to make sure. I wasn't a bad student, but I wasn't good enough to get into Rutgers at that time. So Coach Hill's really good friend, Coach Norm Schoenig at Montclair, reached out, and I knew they were a powerful program and playing high-level baseball, and went there in 93. We were probably a year before what he thought in 94 we were going to get to the World Series, but we got the year before 93. And just got hot at the right time, and we won a national championship. We beat Wisconsin Oshkosh, and then our sophomore year, we're preseason number 1 in the country, and we went back to the World Series, won the first game, and we're like, we're going to repeat, and we lost 2 straight, and we were out.
Right. so to be the Rookie of the Year, you must not have gotten too cold too often that year.
It was anytime. That's probably the best Division III conference in the country.
Yes.
So. Yeah, that's something I'm very proud about, especially that those teams back then were outstanding back then. Right. William Patterson was our rival, and we really respected and loved them. Back then it was Trent State, but now the College of New Jersey was outstanding. Right. Rowan. There were some really good programs.
Would you say, thinking back to your college days, was there ever a stumble, an obstacle, a challenge? Maybe it was an injury. Maybe it was possibly grades. Was there ever any time that there was a very challenging time for you, whether it be on the ball field or maybe you're trying to get a starting spot or you going through a slump or anything that you can tell the viewers of something that might have happened through those 4 years that kind of made it challenging?
Yeah,
Something that you had to overcome.
Obviously, your academics number one. They set us up with tutors, and so everything with that was really good. As long as you put your time in, you were going to be okay. On the ball field, back then, being so talented, the whole team, you had to be ready every single year. It didn't matter what you did the year before.
Right.
You had a good year, but you had to do it again the following fall and the following, January before the spring started. You win the slump. A slump's a slump, but that's why you try to. I know you do, and all the trainers do. Like talk about slumps and how to get out of that stuff. And it's really now it's such a mental game that
right.
That's I really try to touch upon with our kids at Governor Livingston. It's like you go for 10, like the kid doesn't know what to do, like he's lost his mind completely. But I tell him again, like if you're a pitcher, you can win it on the mound.
Right.
Defensively, you can win it. You're a catcher, you can block a ball, or you can get walk or get on an error and read a dirt ball and score. Like
Right.
there's so many different ways to win a game or be a factor in a game that just because you didn't get a hit, it's not the end of the world.
Right. So let's fast forward a little bit. So you go to college, you're getting ready to hang the cleats up, right? So it's that dreadful day that we all go through of like, I think my career is almost over. Like, was there any sights of possibly getting drafted or professional ball, or was it when did you know you wanted to be a coach?
See, that's a touchy subject, Duke. As a junior, I was fourth in the country in RBIs in Division III, and there was a lot of talk that I was going to go in the draft. Feedback that I got, I was playing outfield, was that they were sort of looking me as a first baseman, weren't going to take a chance with somebody if they weren't playing first base. Again, I look at the end of the day, everything happens for a reason, and I'm perfectly fine that it didn't work out. I mean, I had an opportunity to play independent baseball.
Right.
I didn't want to go that route. At that point, when my junior and senior year at Montclair, we got knocked out in the Mid-Atlantic Regional Final, I went back and I helped my idol, Coach Bill Howard, who was my coach at GL, and I just fell in love with the coaching aspect, and I was so into that after I started, stopped playing in '96 as a senior, that I finished up my studies, I was subbing, and I started coaching, and I loved it.
Right. Well, what part of coaching do you love the most? I mean, when you look back at some of the the credentials, I mean, you won 2 state championships. You're almost at 400 wins. You have a ton of guys that you've helped get to college and through college. Like it goes on and on, the accolades of what you have and who you've helped. What part of the game do you love the most? Like what part of coaching do you get the most gratitude?
That's a very easy question. The relationships that you have with your players and also your coaches. I mean, just like you have with your staff here, you have a lot of continuity. And I think that's very important in a program. That everybody gets along and everybody wants to be together. And that's what we have at Governor Livingston. I have had coaches there for a long time that were friends outside of baseball. And even though it's enjoying being at practice and games, it's even more fun being with your friends.
And what's like the secret sauce? And when you're coaching for 20 years and you're as successful as you have been and continue to be, like it's almost like you're getting better and better at it. You've won certain championships that you guys have never won before. The county finals, you won the state championship in 2011, 2015. Like what's the what's that secret sauce that you have that just is, just getting better and better?
I think it's tradition of our program. I really do. I think you have little kids that running around with GL baseball shirts that emulate, want to be the players. They go to games. We have the youth from both towns, Mount Sinai and Berkeley Heights. They run out to positions with our players. So, at a very early age, they want to play baseball for Governor Livingston. It's important to them. The other thing is the off season. I'm a very firm believer. Even though the one thing I don't like about our program is that you do find some kids that are just baseball. I don't like that. I like kids that play multiple sports. Now, we play in a day and age where there's three.
Right.
Now it's tough, because you're getting pulled in the summer.
Right.
You definitely should be playing 2 kinds of sports, and because you need to get knocked down in another sport, you need to compete in another sport.
Right.
But I think it's what we do, working with our youth from both communities, Berkeley Heights and Mount Sinai, at an early age, them doing clinics with us in the winter and January. Those go a long way. People don't recognize that.
Right.
And then once they get to high school, and obviously we can't train them in the off season, and I'm not saying this because it's you, but having them come to this place. I've had many people, they always start the conversation, well, we know you go to zoned, but we can, and I just stop it right there because I said, no, I'm loyal to Duke and I believe in what Duke and his, trainers do. And I really do firmly believe that in my heart, that you guys are amazing. And I always tell the new parents that, hey, just wait till they get up and they start training with Duke and the guys, and they all come back and they're just blown away.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We appreciate that. And, I think that it's hard for a lot of little leagues. They don't keep their guys as like you guys do. I mean, and like you said, you do special things. When you say it's all about building relationships, that clearly shows in the fact that the 8s, 9s, and 10-year-old kids can't wait to get on your field and play for you. I think that's I think that's amazing. I also love the fact that you said play multiple sports because so much stuff out there. I mean, you being a high school coach, I think this this topic is perfect for us. But I think with social media nowadays, kids are all about themselves. They're all about their perfect game rankings and their PBR rankings and where they are. Mm-hmm. It becomes a very, I only care about myself. If I throw 90 miles an hour and run my 6.6 and, it's about my stats, not about the team stats. And how do you...
And that's the hardest part. I mean, I think that's another thing that we sort of have a leg upon for the most part is that when the kids are in our program and playing for us, like, they care about Governor Livingston baseball. Like, I get it. They might play here. They might have done this, and this. But, from March to hopefully June 1st, right. I mean, they're all in, and they're a team, and it's really special and fun to watch. But I know exactly what you're talking about. And I always tell my kids, too, and I've had some kids do it. And, again, they've went through the right route, and they made sure that it was the place they wanted to go to. But I don't like these kids committing when they're really young. I really don't. And I always say to them, the first thing I say to them is, because of social media, you said that they can't wait to put it out on Twitter or Instagram. I'm so proud to announce that I've committed. I said, listen, that's really cool for 24 hours. I said, after that, no one cares. And that's why you have to make the right decision. And, like I said, you can make the right decision as a sophomore.
Right.
Drew Compton made a decision to go to Georgia Tech as a sophomore. He's making the right decision.
Right.
He's going to have a hell of a career. Stephen Reed did the same thing. Danny Soretti at early, picked one school and then he changed later on. And like I said, that's okay because in his heart it wasn't, I guess he felt the right fit. But that's why I just want kids to do their due diligence and make sure that they pick the right school that they really want to go to. Because I always say to them, Duke, that, hey, are you sure? Is this the place that if you blow out your arm, you blow out your knee, you never play baseball again? Can you see yourself, going there? Mm-hmm. And I always say yes. So, knock on wood, it's been pretty good.
Well, that's a great gauge. So after the last season, you got asked to help coach and train at Montclair State University. What did that feel like?
That was it was awesome. It was everything that you would think about coaching at the next level. People have always asked for many years, when are you going to leave? And there's just so many variables that people don't understand where you are in your life and this and that, financially and this and that. But I was asked to be the interim head coach at Montclair State. Montclair State let go of their former coach, right before, sometime late August. Right. And myself and some of my guys on my staff.
That must have been so fun.
It was a lot of fun, man.
Not only the cool part for you to be a college coach, but for you to take your high school coaches and put them on the field and be like, hey, now they have that too on the resume.
Well,
right?
Exactly.
That's cool.
A couple of them were no-brainers because they played there too. So
right.
They're alumni too. And I think the biggest thing that we were trying to bring back was the tradition of the program. And I think we did. Those 4.5 weeks were awesome. I would never take it back. The kids at Montclair State are special. They're great kids, and I wish them nothing but the best. And there would have probably been an opportunity maybe to leave teaching and go that route, but at the end of the day, being a teacher 22 years and wanting to be a father and a husband, that took precedent over this.
That's what I was going to say. That must be tough. Your son's getting to that age now where you want to watch him play and you want to see him, and all of a sudden college coaching job opportunity, and you're like, whoa. But then there must have been something maybe something that happened that you were like,
Yeah, I mean,
there...
there's a story, and I always think, I definitely wanted to do it, but I think there was one time where, on a Saturday inter squad, where we set up a screen behind home plate and we had a radar gun on our table, and all the pitchers were pitching in a long inter squad, and I had my phone open to that Game Changer. I'm giving Game Changer a plug here. Game Changer plug. The app, watching my son play a fall baseball game, and I'm saying to myself, I'm here and I'm loving it, but I'm missing this. Right. And I would miss my daughter's playing soccer and softball. I would miss them. Yeah. So I'm just saying to myself, well, what am I doing? Like, if this was before I had kids, or let's just say, hopefully this could happen maybe later in life. But I also say to people, or ask me, why do you even go? Because after that story, I said, why would I want to leave? I'm in a great place. Right. Mm-hmm. I'm coaching an awesome program with great kids at the school where I went to. So that means a lot to me. And again, when I was at Milburn and I left to go to GL, they said, well, why would you leave? Group 3 job for a group job? Because it's home.
Right.
And to me, walking those hallways, not to sound corny, but walk those hallways, to wear the same uniform, not literally, but to wear the same uniform that I did in high school meant a lot to me.
And if you listen to this whole talk, it's just that. You talked about tradition, you talked about family. You go to GL, you then coach at GL. You go to Montclair State, you then coach at Montclair State. So
full circle.
The loyalty is amazing. So that brings me to my next question, which I think a lot of parents and have a hard time with, that have families and jobs, and can you talk a little bit about life balance and balancing the son, the daughter, the games, the coaching, the teaching? Because obviously, you're doing an amazing job at all of it.
Thank you.
But I think that there comes a point to where you're like, man, just like that, I want to be a coach, but I'm missing this. And then if I go to this, I'm missing that. And I say that all the time. You're always missing something.
You are.
But as long as you're in the moment of where you are, you can't think of it as you're missing that, or else you're always going to miss.
The only way I'm getting it done personally, I don't know about other people, is that with the support system. My wife, again, without her, forget about it.
Right.
My in-laws are both retired, tremendous. They're always around. My own mother, so my sister-in-law. So we have a great support system, our family, and it means the world to me. It really does. And listen, you can get anything done. You can get anything done you want, but you got to have that help. You got to have this, because it's really tough to do it by yourself. It really is.
Man, that's awesome. Because I always think that coaching it's difficult to, it's a ton of hours, and it's the after hours, it's the weekends, it's right. But when you have a strong bond with your family, it makes it much easier, because your son and daughter know where you are. They know where to find you.
They want to be at the games. They want to be there. They want to run around. Every time, and it's tough because they either practice or games, but when we're playing, if it's a Saturday or if they just have an off day and my wife brings them up, that after every game, I know where they are. After I'm done talking to kids, my son's already got dirt all over himself and he's running around the bases, and my daughter's, doing that too, but she's a little bit cleaner than that. But, it's special. And I think a lot of the coaches that can share that with their families, they understand where I'm coming from. It's something special. It really is. I think it's a lot of their upbringing. I really do. I get it that, you're trying to, back in high school, showcase yourself for college. But I still think when you're part of any team, even if it's you're playing a silly phys ed game, like you got to be a good teammate. You got to be there for, you got to be able to, go in the foxhole with your friend. You know what I mean? And that's something that we really preach at the high school. And, our kids really buy into it. And we have coaches that are just like me that preach the same thing. And it's really nice to see. But, getting to Montclair, you would think there was, you're going to laugh, there was 54 kids on the roster. Now, again, people don't know, you only have 35 in Division I baseball. So they had 54 kids, 4 kids were hurt. So we had 50 kids in the fall that we were, 27 of them were pitchers. So obviously everyone's trying to impress in the sense, because at that time, I think they, really thought that I was going to be the coach.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, that's why I said that these kids are special at Montclair State, that they really believed. It was really something to watch. We had an opportunity to get one game scrimmage against Caldwell College, and obviously not everybody was going to play. Right. And they knew that. But to see not only the kids who were playing and then subbing, guys who were subbing coming in for them, but the guys who weren't playing be a team, like it was something special. And I'm just so glad that in my life that I had an opportunity to be a part of it, but especially at Montclair State, because if it was anywhere else, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Well,
I think in any program, it starts from the top down, right? It starts with you and you having the culture and the different, the hustle and the respect and respecting the coach, the other team, just the game itself, just all those things.
You got to respect the game. I tell them, if you don't respect the game's going to get you. And I always tell you, like you said, the harder you work, the luckier you're going to get. And you were going back to social media about being selfish. We have something that when we walk into our locker room, a big team poster of one of the championship team pictures saying, it's not about you, it's about the program. And it's funny, I just thought of that when you said that. And it really is. And, when you can get, like you said, when you can get cohesiveness, that will, that will beat talent every single year.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
And that's what makes me excited. Listen, I love my team for this year. I know you're going to love working with them in the wintertime. We have some really good kids, and they all buy in, and they're going to work their tails off to try to win something. And you know what? Even if we don't, it's still going to be a great year because they're going to try so very hard to try to win something.
And I always tell everybody when from the teams that train here, I'm like, but when GL comes here, they don't just bring their juniors and their seniors. They're not just bringing their varsity team. They're bringing guys that are from the freshmen. Sometimes they even bring 8th graders in there, maybe, that sneak in there. I mean, there's 48 kids in here and the older guys are just like captains that are, talking to the younger guys. And it's like everybody gets involved. It's not just, and that you doing that shows the younger guys what the older guys, what it takes to be like that. I mean, if you're waiting until you're a junior to start teaching a guy what you want, like it's almost too late. You don't know
what it's all about. I want these freshmen to be acclimated right away. I want them to want to be on the varsity at a young age, and I want them to, Duke Baxter, senior captain, who's a stud, going to North Florida. Okay, I can play with him a little bit. I mean, I'm a little bit weaker, but like that's what I want, and I want like some of these seniors that know that, hey, okay, there's a sophomore that I don't know about that's coming from my position. So again, it goes back to what you said about what we do as a program. That's one of the big things that we do.
It's huge.
So
I think it's awesome for the older guys too to have to almost take the younger guys under their wings.
Yes.
That's fun to watch. It's fun to watch because I'm sure then when they go in the hallway, that freshman can kind of maybe wave to the older. You know what I mean? It's almost like you got a big brother.
No, it's great, and we that's a good thing that myself and the coaches look at too, talking to you and other trainers, that, okay, hey, who's stepping up being the vocal leader, who's this and that, who's taking charge, because, if and when, so there's some years we don't have captains.
Right.
But, because again, captains are an extension of the coaching staff. But when we get to this year, after the preseason, they'll vote and we'll see who it is. But it starts right then. I mean, it actually starts in the fall, when they play, fall baseball.
Right. So. What's the most challenging part of being a coach? What's the most challenging part of your job? Because there's a lot of coaches that are listening to this and hearing how how your program is and what you're like and just the amazing things about you. But there's coaches out there that have a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And
especially the young ones.
Yeah. Can you give a specific? What's the most challenging? Thing that you can think of as a coach that
the challenge. I think everything's challenging. I think that the easiest thing to do is to go on the field and coach. That's the easiest thing to do. As the head coach, you're the CEO. You have to overlook everything. So again, you have to surround yourself with good people who can help you with certain things. One thing also is that for any of these young coaches, you have assistant coaches. You got to let them coach. You can't have them and then all of a sudden you go in and teach them something. Like, no, you're all on the same page. You want them to feel just as important in the program. Let them coach. You have a pitching coach. He handles the pitchers. Okay? Right. We have a fantastic pitching coach, Matt Rago, who played for me, played at Montclair State and was a pitching coach at Montclair State. And he's a teacher now in Somerville. He's been with us since 15. I let him do his thing. He's the only guy I've ever let you just go do your thing. And the only thing we talk about is maybe setting up the rotation for the week. But, it's his show. I have Brian Young, who's an educator in Mountainside, who's been with us for a while. He handles our catchers. Okay, you handle the catchers, man. I have Ralph Yeza, who's my best friend, who played at Montclair State, Hall of Famer. He's been with me for a very long time. He coaches third base. I trust him. He works with the hitters. Like, I have a really good balance of outstanding coaches. I really do. But you got to let them coach.
I think that's awesome. That's awesome advice. And I think one of the most difficult things for a travel coach, a little league coach, a high school coach, I'm sure it's not as bad as in high school, but the parents of these, of the kids, we see it all the time. Like they try to micromanage and try to, like, every little thing that goes on instead of letting the kid play, letting him,
No, I agree.
Parenting,
I can see it with my kids. I mean, and I understand why they can get crazy sometimes.
Right.
I just think what I try to, and maybe for the younger coaches, is just show your parents how much you truly care about their son. Right. And I think that, they'll still get mad, but I think at the end of the day, they're going to say, okay, well, Duke is a good guy, and I know he cares about Johnny. So, but it's the guys that, you can't talk to, that don't return your emails or your phone calls, and just the arrogance of the whole thing and treat your kids like crap. Yeah, those guys are going to have a problem. It's not like, it can't be like that. You got to get these kids to play for you. You got to show the kids how much you care about them. And we care about our kids to the utmost. I mean, they're getting in trouble at school. Like we're going to stop right away. Right, I always tell the kids, I said, again, if you're a sophomore, like I said, I don't care where you're at. If it's a senior and it's a sophomore, but this kid's just a great kid, okay, he's not getting in trouble, you're going to play.
Right.
You're not going to class. You're failing. You're not a good kid. Like, we're not going to play kids that are like that. We have enough kids, knock on wood, that we'll put you in. You might not be as good as that person, but you know what? You're a better person. You have higher character.
We can count on you.
Yes.
You're a team guy.
Yes.
You're going to put the team first.
That's the most important thing, Duke. You know that, man.
Yep.
You know that.
So last thing. What do you think is the number one thing that you want to tell all those coaches out there, that if they're going to take on the job and they're going to be a coach, can you think of something specific that you think is just paramount, number one, like this is what you have to do, in order to be a good coach?
It's a great question. I'll say it again. I think I've said it a couple times. You got to prove to your kids how much you care about them, and that, you want your kids to play hard. You want them to compete for themselves, but you want them to compete for you too,
right? Because
they know you care. Mm-hmm. If you're one of those coaches that you it's obvious you don't care, you practice for 45 minutes when it rains out, and you're not doing anything for college, then how are they going to play for you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's very tough for young coaches now. I really do. I think it's, sometimes I say, off the record, I think guys are crazy to get into this profession at a young age now, because of just how it is now.
Your hands are tied.
Your hands are tied, man. You don't get support by certain people. But again, on my end, I mean, I have a great athletic director, principal. I mean, they're totally supportive. I mean, I'm in a great spot.
Right.
But there are other places where you don't. But again, if you're asking for trouble, how is somebody going to help you out if you're in a bind? So surround yourself with good assistant coach. I know it's not easy,
right.
But try to do your best and surround yourself with the best coaches possible. Don't bring in just your best friends because you're best friends and they don't know how to coach or know how to treat people. I think people fall into that problem too.
And a lot of people talk a good game. Those coaches that they say to do this, make sure you get here early, make sure you respect the game, and all of a sudden, ding, 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 practice is, where's coach at?
They're late, they're yelling at umpires. Like, there's a time and a place that you do that, and you don't have to yell. You can go up between the innings and just say, hey, where was that pitch? Or, are you kidding me? I mean, going on 20 years, have I lost my mind a little bit? Maybe a couple times, but again, those umpires know that, it's nothing personal, and I've always apologized to them if it ever gotten to that point.
And I always say the players, watch what you do, not just what you say. You can, there's coaches that just want to hear themselves talk.
No, I know.
Blah, 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 blah. It's they want to be like you, they want to act like you, they want to sit like you, they want to talk like you, they want to, and I think that's super important.
I mean, like I said, what do they always say? If they make fun of you, that means that they like you. That's why I always tell my kids in class, like, hey, if I'm making fun of you, that means that I really like you. It's when I don't talk to you, then you have to worry about it.
That's what I wanted to touch on. I think that's a super important part, because kids nowadays, there's a lot of kids that, when you're on a kid, when you're on him because he's got the skill sets. He's got the. It's almost like they shrink up, clan him up, and the parents like, how come you're, my son said you were, you kept saying his name today, or how come you're on like it? I'm like, listen. The second I stop talking to your son, that's when you worry.
No doubt.
I care about him. That's why I'm constantly making sure because he's better than that.
Yeah.
I want him to know that it's, and getting the kids. We've had that talk a couple times, with a lot of the kids, because they don't understand the importance of that. Like, that means a coach does care. If he's not talking to them, he's already moving on. Like, you want a coach to be all over you.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with it.
And it's it's very sad now that we're at a point where we're like, oh, he's a blue collar kid. Like, that should be the norm. Like, when we came up, like, a lot of kids were like that. I get it.
Right.
And, like, everything changes and stuff. But if we could really go back to that and get more kids that, like I said, so-called drink out of a water hose and are just blue-collar type guys, I mean, that's what you need. That's what you need to win championships. You don't need the great play. Yeah, it helps, no doubt about it. Don't get me wrong. But you need guys that are going to work hard together. And like you said, they'll do anything they have to do to win. Like, our championship teams, and I told our guys, we've had a lot of kids that had roles. You were a relief pitcher. We don't have lefty specialists, but one year we had a kid who just was a lefty kid coming out of the bullpen, and he loved it. Another year we had a kid who was just a courtesy runner, led the team in runs with 30 or something like that. So everybody has a role, and I always say everybody's going to get opportunity in practice or in scrimmages. Like, you got to roll with it, man. You got to roll with it. And again, you can't play kids that are unfortunately mentally weak. And
when the going gets tough,
they're going to fold. Like I said, at the end of the day, I know we put out the right people.
Right.
I know not everybody's going to agree with that, but that's normal. I mean, the last thing I think for young coaches, people always say, don't talk to the parents. Don't talk. I think you should. I think you can. And I know we have a great program because, for the most part, I have a pretty good relationship with all the parents. And I think you just have to know who you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And, once, somebody who's, on your side, and then you don't start playing their kid and they don't, okay, see you later. Then you really know they truly weren't your friend.
Right.
But I will say confidently that I haven't had too much of that in my career. And that's something I hold my head very high for.
And like you said before, parents just want to make sure that their kids are going to be.
And I get it.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just. Okay,
I want the same
Coach
thing.
Cares about my son. That's all I care about. Whatever you do, wherever he plays, whatever, like I know he's got the best interest in the team. Like, okay, fine.
Yeah. Like, I feel great now knowing that, even though it's so far away, that with my daughter Emily, that Coach Jess, the softball coach at Scotch Plains, will be there. She's a great person. She does a lot with the youth in the summertime. Right. And Coach Joe Higgins, who's a friend of mine, who's a great coach at Scotch Plains. I hope he stays there for my son. He's a great guy. So I'm happy, looking forward, to watching them when I can.
Right.
Because who knows what, life holds in the future.
So you guys heard it from the man, the myth, the legend, the baseball icon, Chris Rue from GL. 20 years coaching experience, 3 championships, NJAC Rookie of the Year, national champion. It goes on and on. And one thing I did forget, Coach Roof, correct me if I'm wrong, 14 Coach of the Years.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
It's probably that means it's probably 15.
But
amazing, almost 400 wins. Just thanks so much for the tips, the education. That was awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
I really appreciate it, man.